What's going on YouTube? Would you believe you can still get a new car for under $16,000?
Well, you kind of have to, because that's what we're sitting in right now, the 2023 Nissan Versa S.
Let's go ahead and check it out right now. So like with every review, the first place we're gonna start off with is our spec dump and under the hood. So with the Versa, you have a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder engine, making 122 horsepower and 114 pound-feet of torque.
It's going to be routed to the ground via a CVT on most models, but you can get a 5-speed manual transmission, so basically you're driving a Civic Si for half the cost. Now, as far as fuel economy is concerned, 35 miles a gallon combined for the CVT models, 30 mpg combined for manual models.
But we have an updated look to the exterior design, so let's go ahead and close up the hood and take a look at it. So when it comes to the exterior design of the 2023 Versa, this is certainly one of the most recognizable differences this model year. You'll see a lot of influence here from its big brother, the Altima, which was also just refreshed, in the fact that we have the latest version of the V-Motion grille, and this has been enlarged substantially. So as you can see, it really covers up most of the front end design. We have this side here. We also have these little silver accents with some more black over here on the side, and we have the updated version of the Nissan emblem. Now let's talk about the lighting. So this is the S trim level we have today. This is actually the base model. As you'd expect with that, we do have incandescent lighting. That being said, you can actually get LED lighting if you choose the top end SR trim level. Now as we move around to the rear design, you continue to find that kind of Altima Junior look to it.
Yeah, and it's slightly updated for 2023, and you do want to point out, if you go for the SR trim, that kind of spices up the design ever so slightly by giving it a spoiler, but it is a Versa after all, so none of them are going to be super sporty looking. Let's go ahead and check out our tail lights, see if all of the elements are LED. This is probably a little bit of a rhetorical question, because in an affordable vehicle like this, typically you don't get any element in LED, and that's not going to be the case with the Versa as well. All the elements are going to be incandescent, but this is pretty much the same taillight that you see on the Nissan Altima, which is quite a bit more expensive. Now, dropping down to the lower area, you will notice that all of this is actually finished in a nice body color finish. We actually have a decently aggressive diffuser area, which I'm kind of surprised to see. No exposed exhaust outlets on any Versa though.
So standard on the Versa S is going to be a 15-inch steel wheel with hubcaps. However, we have the S Plus package. That gets us the 16-inch alloy wheels from the SV trim level, and you get 17-inch alloy wheels if you go up to the SR trim level. These wheels are actually pretty stylish. I like this contrast design with the gray finish and the silver spokes. Moving up here to our mirrors, you are going to have standard power adjustment, but if you want heating or blind spot monitoring, you will have to move up one rung to the middle SV trim.
Now at the side of the Versa, we're coming in at a length of 177 inches, which is a good amount for the segment. And as far as some of the design elements, you're going to notice that it does have a lot of those similar characteristics from the bigger brother Versa and the bigger brother Altima. You have this kind of piece right here that makes it look like it has a floating roof design. I also kind of like the base black door handles that this model has. It provides a nice little contrast for this vehicle. Now when it comes to safety, you are certainly going to be impressed and happy if you're a not so great driver with this Versa, because they are including several safety systems as standard equipment, including forward emergency braking, lane departure warning, as well as auto high beam headlamps. Now adaptive cruise control comes with the SR trim level and above, and another thing that you get is rear auto braking, which is a very unique feature to see on anything in this segment of vehicle. But guys, let's go ahead and check out the cabin and see what you get in there before we take it out in a spin.
All right, so let's go ahead and climb inside. Since we have the base S, like I already mentioned, we actually we don't have any form of smart entry. That's going to be on the SR trim level. Keyless entry will be on the SV trim level. We actually have to use the key. Kicking it old school today. Twist that over, unlock the door. Not too hard though. and take a look inside at the cabin. So there are some updated elements for 2023. I'll start off by talking about the seats. There are actually going to be cloth seats on all 3 trim levels of the Versa. Each one does have some different accenting though, so you have premium red accenting on the SR trim level, excuse me. This version here is still going to have a little bit of contrasting gray elements in the middle, and of course the seats are going to be manually adjusting as well across the entire lineup. But let's go ahead and get inside. Now that we're inside, let's go ahead and first start off by talking about materials. This of course is actually the most affordable new car currently on the market in the US, so let's see what we get. It is going to be actually hard touch even here on the armrest portion. Everything is going to be hard touch up there. We do have one fully automatic window for just the driver. As we move to the upper dash, of course, hard touch plastic. This part here looks like it's soft. It is actually still hard, but even though it is hard touch, it does have a stitching detail inside of it. And everything in here actually feels really nice and solid and very durable. Now, I'll get the key out of my pocket because, of course, we do have to use it to start it up, but you can get push button start if you go for the SR trim level. Let's move into a first-person perspective and take a look at the details, starting with our gauge clusters. So we do have a small display here on this S trim level. You do actually have a 7-inch display on the other 2 trim levels, and the rest of the gauge cluster is analog. Now as we pull back to the steering wheel, surprisingly we've got a flat bottom steering wheel. I guess that's because this is such a sporty and fast vehicle. Just kidding, but I do actually like the way this steering wheel looks. It's got little indentions over here. You can get leather wrapping if you choose the SR trim level, and of course, no matter what, it is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. But let's go ahead and take a look at interior storage. Now, one of the things about this class of vehicle that's a little awkward, you could say, is the fact that you don't really have a center console at all. There's no armrest. It's just a area with a little bit of storage. This is all you've got, and this little area right here. So in terms of storing the coupons for the value-conscious buyers, when you want to save a little bit of money, you're going to have to kind of roll them up and stuff them in there, and then hope that they stay in there. We've got our 2 cup holders. Up in the front, we've got a really nicely sized console area, plenty of space. It does have a wireless phone charging pad actually on all but this trim level, so that's kind of an unexpected nice feature. Now coming back to the shifter, traditional style unit, just pull back for drive, go up to the R for reverse, and when you do, you will find a standard backup camera. It does not have active trajectory, and as you can probably tell, it is extremely dim. That being said, I was surprised to find out that even here on this base version, we have parking sensors. And then back behind that, you've got your traditional handbrake. Now as we move on to that, we come up to our climate controls. This is a manual climate setup, as you can tell. This is going to be included on both the S and the SV trim levels, but you can actually get an automatic setup if you choose the top-end SR trim level. You also have physical controls for the audio system. So this low-end model is going to come with a 4-speaker sound system. You can upgrade to 6 speakers if you choose the SR trim level, but let's go ahead and sample the 4-speaker one. Overall sound quality is actually not too bad. Now, of course, it won't be great if you're super into audio, but for most people shopping at this price point, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by the sound quality. Let's talk a little bit about the display. So this is a very similar display to what we've sampled in the Nissan Kicks. Kind of protrudes out of the dashboard and is surrounded by piano black and some shortcut buttons. The screen itself is going to be 7 inches for S and SV, 8 inches on the SR trim level. Now as far as the functionality on this, we do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That's through the S Plus package, and of course the other 2 trim levels will also have it as standard equipment. Up top, we've got a manual dimming mirror. We have some incandescent interior lighting. And of course, you won't find a sunroof at this price point.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and talk about the Versa's rear seat. Now, we'll talk about the space first. 31 inches of legroom, 36 inches of headroom. So not a ton of space. But that being said, I'm 5'9", so the average adult is about my size or a little bit bigger. And as you can see, there is plenty of room back here for 2 adults. It's not too bad whatsoever. Now, as far as the knee space with the seat adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", I'm looking at about 5.5 inches, and I can slide my feet up underneath the seat for additional comfort. I will point out, though, that these rear seats are a little bit firm, but you would expect that in this segment. Now, of course, you're not going to have vents. There's nothing here in the middle, no vents, no USB ports, no heated rear seats. We do have a seat back pocket. I guess you could use these USB ports right here if you needed to charge something, so I guess it kind of functions for the front and the rear, so that's a unique feature. No center armrest here on this Versa model. And then let's turn to your door trim. The materials are going to be about as hard as my Calculus 2 exam, so very difficult, hard on all the areas. We do have a fake carbon fiber trim, but we do have a bottle storage down in the very bottom. Now, walking up to the trunk on the Versa, since we do just have the key opening system, there's not a button under the lid or anything, so you do have to use the key over here, turn to the right to pop it open. There is also a release inside of the cabin as well, so if you prefer to do that. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, we're looking at 14.7 cubic feet because we do have the S Versa model. If you go for the SV or the SR trim levels, it's going to be 15 cubic feet, and that's actually more space than the bigger brother Nissan Sentra, because that makes sense for sure. So we have more space than the bigger Nissan Sentra, which is a little bit odd, but certainly to your benefit if you're looking to buy a Versa. Now, as far as the features back here, we do have a cargo cover installed on this model. If we lift up the cargo floor here, there is actually a spare tire down there. And I do want to point out we have optional 60/40 split folding rear seats. That's going to be included in the S Plus package or standard on SV and SR trim levels. Well, here we are behind the wheel of one of America's most affordable new vehicles, the Nissan Versa. And in this test drive, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things, seeing how the acceleration is. We have a table of contents that is up on the screen right now. We will also be getting our sound level reading so we can compare to some of this vehicle's rivals.
All right, and there is 55 miles per hour with this Nissan Versa. So, as you probably could pick up on with the spec dump at the beginning, this is not going to be a quick vehicle. It only has 122 horsepower, 114 pound-feet of torque from a 1.6 liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder engine. That being said, I do want to say that the tuning of the throttle response does make it feel a little spiffier off the line, at least. Kind of have that initial jolt just by the way they tuned it, and then of course the power is going to fall off, but you will get up to speed eventually.
Yeah, goes 260.
Do we have a 0 to 60?
I don't
Nissan?
think we have a 0 to 60 from Nissan. I would say it's definitely in the double digits. It probably is 10 to 12 seconds, 0 to 60. But you will make it there. And honestly, I mean, nothing in this segment. I mean, come on. Nothing in this segment is fast at all. So you are getting, obviously, a benefit when it comes to the pricing, which we'll talk about in just a little bit of this video. But this is made to be as affordable as a new vehicle can be. So you are going to have sacrifices for that. And some of that is going to be your power. But we do have the air conditioning running, and it's not too bad.
Now let's talk a little bit about the other aspect of the powertrain, that's the transmission. We have a continuously variable transmission on board. As you saw, it does have a shift simulation under certain circumstances, although it will not simulate actually if you go really hard on the throttle, like full throttle. It's kind of the opposite of other types of cars. A lot of them will do the simulation when you go hard on the throttle, but I guess they know that that actually cuts the power, because the most efficient way to deliver power is for the CVT to actually go up to high RPMs and hold there for a while. So kind of when you're in that middle territory, that's when it will do the shift simulation.
Now, if you prefer to row your own, Nissan does offer the 5-speed manual transmission, which honestly is becoming increasingly rare. Now, of course, that's not like a sporty type of driving dynamic. It's actually to save cost, because the manual is the cheapest Nissan Versa you can get. It's actually the one that starts at under $16,000. But it is offered, so if you're one of those people that would like to learn how to drive a manual, or you already know how to drive a manual, you can save money that way by going for the Versa manual. Now, of course, you do only have front-wheel drive. That's going to be what powers the Versa, and your fuel economy ratings are 35 miles a gallon combined with the CVT. If you go for the manual transmission, you will pay quite a bit at the pump more in fuel at 30 miles per gallon. So you do definitely sacrifice efficiency for going for the manual. All right, now that we've hit 55 miles an hour, we will do our sound level reading. All right, not bad whatsoever. 58.8 decibels. Okay. Really, that's way better than I expected.
Yeah, the fact that this is not above 60 decibels is surprising. I mean, Nissan is, not cheaping out too much. They're putting a pretty good amount of sound deadening inside of here.
Yeah, and as far as your ride quality, I do want to mention that in the Versa. Your ride quality is pretty good. I mean, as you would expect for a vehicle in this segment, it's not going to be like a Mercedes or anything like that, but the smaller wheels and the comfortable seats in the front really do make your ride quality seem definitely okay. When you hit a bump, you can feel it enter into the cabin, but it's not going to be super intrusive, and it's not going to jar your teeth out or anything. So overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the ride quality of this Versa.
All right, let's get into today's slam dunk and airball. I'll start with the slam dunk. That's going to be the safety features on this Versa. We're driving right now, like we've discussed the whole time, the base S model, and we actually have several standard active safety features. That's always nice to see, because like Mason, he hasn't mentioned really the pricing yet, but this is a very affordable vehicle. It actually costs less than most used cars, but if you get a used car, you're probably going to be sacrificing safety systems, which this one does have.
Yeah. And one of the things that I do want to point out is that you even have available adaptive cruise control with the SR trim level. I believe Nissan said that that is actually a class exclusive feature to even have adaptive cruise offered, and that's just by going for the SR model. Now, as far as the airball, it's got to be the center console area. Now, we know that a lot of vehicles in this segment do kind of cut out on this center armrest portion, but we think that that's just kind of an unnecessary cost cut. Now, obviously, you have to cost cut in certain areas to make these vehicles affordable, but the center console
kind of fell into the car every time you get in.
Yeah, every time you get in, you twist your back trying to get situated and stuff, because there's not an armrest, and it's just kind of annoying. And you guys will probably realize that day-to-day living with this product more so than some of the other cost cuts they could have done. And lastly here, I do want to talk about our warranty for this Versa. Nissan Signature Warranty applies. 3-year, 36,000 miles basic, 5-year, 60,000 miles powertrain. And like Drew mentioned, this vehicle is actually probably commonly cross-shopped with used vehicles, so you are getting a new vehicle warranty for a very affordable price tag, which we're going to talk about right now. Now, this is the most important part about this review, the pricing for the Nissan Versa. Now, you've seen all of what you get, but how much is it gonna cost? And you heard us talk about that price at the beginning. So yes, we are starting at under $16,000 for a new vehicle, $15,830 for the S manual model. Now, if you want the CVT, which is what we have today, that's gonna start at $17,400. Now, there are other trim levels. SV is $19,000 and SR is also $19,000, just about $700 more expensive. Now, this particular model with the S CVT and S Plus package with a few other accessories and a $1,095 destination is coming in just a touch over $20,000 at $2,235. Well guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2023 Nissan Versa in its refreshed form. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would certainly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By doing so, you get access to some of the newest cars on the market that we review on the channel, as well as our comparisons and our first look reviews. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.